Palladium Z says, it would appear that my two main issues standing in the way of me being able to lose weight are fear of losing the weight, using my excess weight as a crutch, and fear of not eating enough. For the latter, my rational mind knows that I am not going to starve, but still I cannot stop eating things when I am not hungry. I keep trying different ways to get myself out of this, but for the last year, not only have I not lost any more weight, but I have managed to put on over 2 stone, 30 pounds in weight. I am aware that the being scared part is something that I can walk through with each lot of weight loss and goal achieved, but I have no idea how to deal with the not eating enough fear. Any advice would be welcome. Rule number 9 of the cardinal principles of weight loss is your mind will play tricks on you. And this is a prime example. So Palladium, the idea, what you're actually facing is your mind playing tricks on you. And this manifests with different people to different degrees. I've known people that get sick. Their body makes them feel physically ill, like they have the flu when they don't. And it's just their mind psyching them out. Your mind will try anything it can to get you to revert to the same type of behavior that you've been doing. Otherwise, if it were easy, everyone would do it. And it's the same thing that it hasn't changed in 5 years on this channel. It's never going to change. If it were easy, everybody would do it. Your brain will take you back to the hard wiring that it already has installed. Now, I don't understand the first part of this. It would appear that my two main issues standing in the way of me being able to lose weight are fear of losing the weight. Does that mean you believing you can't lose the weight, or you're afraid that you're going to lose too much weight? So I'm not exactly clear on what is meant there. You might offer some clarification. And fear of not eating enough. I'll solve the last one for you. Fear of not eating enough. It takes a long time to develop nutritional deficiencies. In fact, it takes about 5 to 7 years. And if you doubt me, go to look up people who ate only one thing. Just put that into YouTube and you'll come up with various examples of people who went 15, sometimes 20 years eating nothing but ramen noodles or nothing but chicken nuggets. So getting malnourished and not getting enough calories, you're not going to find that except on the longest of term scales. The girl who ate only chicken nuggets finally got sick after 15 years, and to where she was fainting at work, she had to go to the hospital. It takes a long time. But let's say you need to lose, and I don't know how much weight you need to lose, Palladium, but if you need to lose 30, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, you could do that in well under 2 years. Well, even as a person who doesn't lose weight very fast. So why would you let that worry you at all? If you're not eating enough, you're just going to lose weight a little bit quicker. You're not going to become deficient. You're not going to have anything happen in a year, 2 year time span. So you don't need to worry about that right there. That's out the door. This reminds me in counseling about a couple I did years ago. He was a good old varsity blues type of guy. He benched like 350. He was a gym rat. And they had just got out of high school. They were high school sweethearts. And she was worried that he was cheating on her. But there was no cause for that. He didn't have a wandering eye for ladies. He never, he never gave her any signs that there was any sort of thing going on. And she admitted that. And so I had to say to her, and she understood where I was going. I said, yeah, he could cheat on you. He could cheat on you. You could come back tomorrow and he's locked you out of the house. You could come back tomorrow and he's thrown all your clothes outside. He could throw you up against the wall. He's a big, strong guy. And you wouldn't be able to do anything about it. He could kill you and bury your body in the backyard. And of course, she understood the point I was making. The worry was senseless. The worry was pointless. It's not founded on anything. There's always the chance that something can go wrong. There's always the chance that you can up and die tomorrow. That's always a possibility. But is it a possibility above crossing the street and getting hit by a car outside? Or is it a possibility of falling off a building if you get too close to the edge? Well, the latter you avoid, the former you don't. Yes, you take a lot of risks like crossing the street. So what you really need here is permission to not worry. This fear of not eating enough is silly. For all of you guys listening, the fear of not eating enough is really, really silly, because you would have to go a super long time. Your bones would get brittle. You'd start to have problems. You'd start to get unexplained. You'd end up on disability and you wouldn't even know why for years. And finally, a doctor would diagnose it. So you going 8 months or a year on OMAD, maybe 2, at drastic calorie reduction, no. That's not going to hurt anything. As far as the fear of losing weight, if it's the fear of it not working, it's because you haven't done it yet. You have to know that your biology is not going to be that different from anybody else's. And if it means fear of losing weight as in you losing too much, well, that's a call that you make. That's why you set a goal and you stick with it. If you want to be 130 pounds, then set that as your goal and say, I'm going to get there. And then I'm going to assess how I look. So again, taking one problem at a time and addressing these things squarely is the way to deal with this. There's no reason to try to stand on the brink and juggle everything in your mind. Because if you do that, you're going to be all over the place. Set a goal weight and stick to it and say, I'm not going to deviate from this. Don't worry about not eating enough, because it would be a damn long time before you saw an issue with that. And obviously, I'm working with a girl here in Humble who's 582 pounds. So, and she's quickly losing weight. She's not going to be that way. She's going to be 100 pounds down in 6 short weeks pretty soon, because she has a lot to lose. Even she won't take more than 3 years to lose weight. She might take 2. And that's if she loses slowly, but she's losing as fast as I was. So it's probably going to be much, much quicker still. So why would we create scenarios that are unrealistic? We don't want to do that. We want to set a goal and stick to a goal and let come what may. If you do deal with some sort of a deficiency, you would just deal with it. If you found out 2-3 years from now you're anemic, you would deal with it. But that nobody's reporting that. For people who've done OMAD for years now on this very channel, you're not seeing that. You're seeing people who are healthier, who are maintaining a low BMI and feeling great. So there's no real issue there. Some of you guys are demon attractors. And when I say demon attractors, I'm being metaphorical. And I just mean you create scenarios in your mind because your mind plays tricks on you. That's all there is to it. You start to feel sick. You start to feel like you're going to hurt yourself. You start to feel like your world is falling apart. And it's either you analytical types, you high scareds, or you high romantic types. And the artsy types, the opposite of the dead, cold, linear thinkers, are the emotional, high aesthetic types, the types that go around and they're very music and art oriented. They tend to create all sorts of demons in their lives because they just get too overwhelmed with things. Set a goal one at a time and remind yourself that you've already been over this. You're going to give it another shot and you're going to succeed because you're going to do one thing at a time and your goal is going to be united. You have nothing to worry about. Like that girl that I mentioned in the counseling, she immediately saw the point. And after that session, and I knew them for 2 years later, she wasn't like that anymore. She was not worried about him coming home smelling like a girl or stepping out. And he never did. He never wanted to. It's an irrational fear. And it comes from your mind trying to run scenarios to protect you from harm. Well, the problem when you do that is you create an infinite regress. You create an infinite cycle of difficulty that you can't track. And when you do that, basically you're trying to be God. If only God of your life. You're trying to be God. You're trying to nail things down. But the problem is you can't do it. You'll do better by saying, I may not be able to do all of this, but I can do one thing. I can say, until it's 11 o'clock, I'm not going to touch food. And when I do touch food, I'm going to touch it and then not touch it again for 23 hours. Simple rules. Simplify. Don't make it more complex than it needs to be. Once there's no conflicting energy in your mind, all this perfect storm of frustration and infinite cycling around and getting no results will just evaporate. It'll just disappear. So I hope that helps.